Trent Bradshaw with Bradshaw Financial Planning, and thank you for joining us for Mind Your Money. This is a reallocation update. Today is January the 5th, 2022. A couple things we're going to touch on today. Obviously, reallocations. We'll talk about what we've done for the first quarter and what we're foreseeing on the horizon in regards to the market. Secondly, we'll talk about the Federal Reserve and what they've actually talked about and are in motion of doing at this point. All right, let's jump right in. Let's talk about reallocations. The data that we've gotten going into the first quarter basically says that we need to take a couple steps back on technology exposure and bring the volatility and the exposure to, again, high growth companies down a notch in the portfolios, which we've done. We've gotten away from small cap and also mid cap oriented companies and back more towards real mature, large companies within the portfolio. In addition to that, we started putting some more defensive asset classes within the portfolio. That could be consumer staples, also utilities. We've got some exposure to housing, which we think will continue to be good as we move forward. But again, you'll see those changes within the portfolio. Well, why do we do this? The first thing we did was take a look at the statements that the Fed's made going into the end of the year. They talked about accelerating the tapering program, which you got to remember they were buying $120 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities and treasuries to keep interest rates down, keep the liquidity out in the market, and it really presented an environment where you wanted to be in stocks. Well, right now, the acceleration or the pickup in the goal of pulling some of that liquidity out of the system, which is tapering, they're wanting to accelerate that to where, March, April timeframe, maybe we're back to doing $0 as far as printing on a monthly basis from the Federal Reserve standpoint. But in addition to that, they talked about accelerating the interest rate increases that we potentially could see going forward too. If we throw that into the mix with the fact that we're trying to pull out the liquidity, I think it could present a difficult environment for stocks. So the second quarter, we've mentioned this before, Brandon and I are going to keep an eye on it and potentially make some more defensive moves within the portfolio if that environment does present itself. But let's talk about statistics. I took a look at the probability of a rate increase going into March of this year. It's actually about 64%. So very likely that the Federal Reserve will increase interest rates by 0.25% by at least the March timeframe. All right, well, we went out to May and said, hey, what's the likelihood of seeing another rate increase? Well, it's only about 26% of an additional rate increase in May. So I think we'll still hang around that probability of only having one rate increase all the way out through May. And I think that's manageable. But then I pushed it out and I said, okay, what are we looking like if we get to the June timeframe, mid-year? It's about a 44% chance that we're going to see 2 rate hikes before June. So it's really that even scale that we could see 1 to 2. But 1 it definitely is more likely. When do we see the likelihood of 2, maybe 3 rate increases happening? Not until the September timeframe. And even if you go out to the December timeframe, it does look likely that look very likely that we're going to see 3 rate increases before year end. I know there's speculation that there'll be 4, but I got a feeling the Fed's going to be real attentive of not being overly aggressive on these rate increases because that could be very damaging to the overall market and the economy as a whole. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll be back with some updates. Make sure you join us on social media. Make sure you reach out to us by phone if you got any questions. Thank you for taking the time to watch this reallocation update, market update. Be back with you soon.